本日はお忙しい中、食の未来、日本とイスラエル、代替タンパク質の可能性とコラボレーションにご参加いただきまして、誠にありがとうございます。司会のイスラエル大使館経済部、根本と申します。本ウェビナーは、イスラエル大使館経済部、Center for Rule Making Strategies、Japan Association for Cellular Agriculture、イスラエルイノベーションオーソリティ、グッドフードインスティテュートの協力のもと、日本、イスラエルのフードテック分野、培養肉の専門家をご紹介するとともに、培養肉や培養魚肉技術を持つスタートアップ企業を、日本とイスラエルのスタートアップ企業をご紹介することで、両国間の組織企業のコラボレーションを具体的に促進することを目的としています。質疑応答に関しまして皆様にお願いがございます。企業への質問に関しましては、Zoom 上の Q&A 機能を使用します。企業の名前を最初に明記の上、ご質問事項を英語にてお書きください。パネルディスカッションの際にお答えさせていただきます。チャット機能には、質問を書き込まないようにお願いいたします。企業のプレゼン中でも質問を書き込んでいただいて結構です。また、同時通訳につきまして、Zoom 下の地球儀のアイコンをクリックし、言語を選択してください。オリジナルの音声を希望の際は、機能をオフにしてください。For simultaneous interpretation, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of the Zoom browser and select English. If you prefer original audio, please turn off this function. それでは、これよりセミナーを開始するにあたりまして、まず、駐日イスラエル大使館、ギラード・コーエン大使より開会挨拶がビデオにてございます。
こんにちは。Distinguished speakers, organizers, and partners. This month, we are celebrating 70th anniversary of Japan and Israel diplomatic relations as we step up level of ties and entering a new phase of cooperation with more investments, strategic collaborations, exchanges, and many more. Our cooperation is even more important these days as we are facing a variety of global challenges. We need to enhance global partnerships in order to overcome them. Today's webinar is about a very critical global challenge: how to produce enough food for the world's population in a sustainable way while minimizing the impact of our environment. This is a very urgent challenge that sits at the heart of the Japanese policy as well as the Israeli one, while also connected to the global SDGs agenda, an extremely important vision for both our countries. As we know, the existing model of agriculture is not sustainable. Fortunately, we have technology and innovation that can help us face this challenge. Israel is one of the main driving forces of innovation in the field of alternative proteins. More than 100 Israeli startups are active in this sector, developing technology that has the potential to help shape the future of our protein sources. However, in order to maximize our potential and growth in this field, we need international collaborations. One of the best places to look for such is here in Japan, with these excellent multinational corporations. There are already a few good cases of collaborations, as will be discussed today, such as the recently established strategic partnership between Ajinomoto and SuperMeat. But I would like to see many more. I invite the audience to contact the embassy's economic mission to seek partnerships with Israeli companies and participate in future events. I have to tell you, the Israeli high-tech is the best in the world. To learn more about Israel's innovation, the best way is to visit in person. Entry to Israel is completely open, without any need for vaccinations or visa. I hope many of you can visit Israel soon and we are here to facilitate your visit and connect you with Israeli companies. I do hope that even this year, we are going to have a direct line between Tel Aviv and Tokyo, which will help you to come to Israel. I would like to thank our economic mission for organizing today's event, and I wish you all a fruitful discussion. ありがとうございます。
大使、ありがとうございました。それでは基調講演に移らせていただきたいと思います。まずはじめに、Center for Rule Making Strategies Japan Association for Cellular Agriculture 吉冨めぐみさんから、日本における培養肉、細胞農業産業の現状とイスラエルとの協力可能性についてお話がございます。それでは吉冨さん、よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いいたします。細胞農業研究会といいまして、国内で培養肉などの細胞農業食品を販売可能にするためのルール作りを行う団体で PR マネージャーをしております。吉富めぐみアビガイルと申します。私、生まれがイスラエルですので、今回こういったイベントに登壇させていただき大変嬉しく思います。よろしくお願いいたします。では早速私の発表を始めさせていただきます。本業はロスタイルド&コージャパンという投資銀行で M&A の支援などもさせていただいておりますが、それに加えてですね、この細胞農業研究会というものを進めています。この研究会は多摩大学ルール形成戦略研究所という新しい技術ですとかアイディアを社会に実装するために必要なルール作りを検討するシンクタンクで運営されています。で我々の運営しております JACA という団体の参画メンバーについてご紹介をしますと、主には国内外の細胞農業企業、そして食品産業の国内の食品産業大手の会社、例えば味の素さんもそうですし、日本ハムさんですとか、三菱商事さんなどが参加しています。その他、アカデミア、東京大学などのアカデミアですとか、GFI といった国際的な NPO も参加されています。JACA はの役割というのは、個別の企業がこういったフードテックのような新しい分野ですと、個別の企業がそれぞれポリシーメーカーですね、例えば政府ですとか政治家の方に個別に話しに行くと、それだけでですね、各社の負担というのが大きくなってしまいます。また、こういった新しい領域ですとスタートアップが多いですので、このルール作りというのを各社の負担にせずに、この JACA というのがスライドの右側ですけれども、取りまとめてポリシーメーカーとの対談を進めながら、例えば行政側が必要な情報が欲しいというふうになった場合に、効率的にこの細胞農業企業にそういった資料の問い合わせをしたりですとか、あとはこの JACA のメンバーの食品企業などもリソースがいっぱいあるような会社に協力を得るなどして、効率的にルール作りというものを進めています。で現在は細胞農業食品の上市に向けて、業界ガイドラインですとか提言書といったものを作成しています。で細胞農業食品に期待されることはいくつもあるんですけれども、こちらおそらく後ほど他の方の発表でカバーをされると思いますので、簡単にだけご紹介をすると、細胞農業というのは環境負荷を既存の食肉に比べて低く食品を生産できる可能性があるということのほか、既存のその食肉よりもですね、動物を育てて、そこからお肉を生産するという手法から、欲しいものを欲しい分だけ生産するという効率的な生産形態にシフトできますので、食料自給率の向上などにも資することができると考えています。またこういった社会課題への貢献もさることながら、サイズドフードという観点からもこの細胞農業食品というのは可能性があると感じています。 例えば、フレキシタリアンというものが今増加しておりまして、そういった方々に対するその植物性代替肉だけでは満たせないようなニーズなども捉えることができると考えております。また、例えばですね、魚にアレルギーを持っている方が、アニサキスアレルギーを持っている方が生魚を食べられるようになるなどのさまざまな効果が可能性があるというふうに考えております。でまた昨今のそのウクライナの情勢によってですね、特に日本はその国内の畜産に使われる飼料の 75% を輸入に頼っております。ですので、今回のウクライナによるこの穀物不況のあれだけではなくて、この異常気象による飼料の不作ですとか、パンデミックによる需給のバランスの急激な変化、また口蹄疫などのさまざまな要因で国内の畜産業というのは常にその変化にさらされていると理解しております。そういったこの形態だけですと、やはり今後その変化の激しい中で安定的に食料を生産していくことに懸念が残りますので、こういった細胞農業という新しい手法を使って、食料生産をすることで、ある程度食料自給率の向上に貢献できるのではないかというふうに考えています。こちら、この業界の初めて聞きますという方にのためにですね、簡単になんですけども、細胞農業食品とは今まで、何かと言いますと、その細胞を増やして食品を作るという方法でして、すでにプロトタイプレベルですと、チキンですとか、エビやステーキ、サーモンなど、さまざまな食品が製造されています。ですが、まだ販売はですね、シンガポールのみで、我々はその日本でですね、販売できるように活動しているところです。でこちらのその細胞農業業界というのは非常に注目されていて、参入している企業も年々増加しておりますし、それに伴って各社のその調達額というのも年々増加していっているところです。そしてルールメイキングという観点で申し上げますと、このシンガポールですとかアメリカ、シンガポールはすでに上市を認めております。認めた実績がありますし、その他アメリカなどで積極的に培養肉、培養シーフードに関するルールが検討されていると理解しています。またイスラエルでは元ネタニヤフ首相が培養肉のステーキをですねメディアの前で率先して食べられると召し上がるといったような国を挙げてこの技術を応援しているというふうに理解をしています。そんな中で国内の状況はどうかと言いますと、さまざまな、ね、食品ですとか、パッケージないし、なんていうんでしょう、リテールレストランですね、レストラン経営をしているような大手の企業さんが続々と国内外の細胞農業企業と連携している事例がございます。例えばこの赤枠で囲っているところは、特にそのイスラエル企業とのパートナーシップを結んでいる、もしくは投資をしている会社になります。また、産業界だけではなくて、その政治の分野でも、細胞農業に関する議連の設立というものが予定されています。またですね、我々の細胞農業研究会は、農林水産省のフードテック官民協議会において、細胞農業ワーキングチームとしても活動をしております。ですので、独立した団体として運営はしているんですけれども、定期的にそういった会議体の場で活動報告などもさせていただいています。ですね、私が国内の
We do what we are doing as well. So what's happening in Japanese cellular agriculture is shown on the slide. There are many unclear things related to rule making in the cellular agriculture. So we are working to organize necessary information to set up
ルールを作っていくということを計画しております。 で、今回のその発表の、締めといたしまして、私がなりに、本分野において、日本とイスラエルがどのように協力できるのかということについてまとめました。本当にその産官学、さまざまなレベルでですね、協調というのが可能と考えています。例えば、政府レベルですと、自給率向上、もしくは維持というのを軸とした連携が可能であると考えています。イスラエルのその強みというのが、私が考える観点になるんですけれども、自国の技術というのを海外にプレゼンする、普及させていく、国内技術を育てていくノウハウに長けていると考えています。また一方で、日本の強みというのが、食の領域において非常にプレゼンスがあると。例えば、ハイクオリティなレストラン、ミシュランスターを取っているレストランが世界で一番多い国ですし、またさらには今回、細胞農業技術というのが、ある程度再生医療の分野にも知見がオーバーラップしているので、国レベルでそういった技術分野の知見などの共有ですとか、あとエンドマーケット、もしくは発信の場所として、もう日本というのは使えるのではないかというふうに考えていますので、政府レベルではそういった連携が可能ではないかと考えています。また、民間のレベルですと、イスラエルの企業さんの強みとして私が感じるところというのが、
I personally feel that Israeli companies have lots of activities outside Israel, for example, in the US and in the EU and Europe. Many private sectors in Israel are planning to launch in large markets such as the US and Europe.
入ってきているのではないかと考えています。さらには、そういった企業さんはですね、いろんなグローバルな食品大手企業から声がかかると思いますので、そういった意味ではグローバルな食の大手企業がオルタナティブプロテインという領域においてどういった、立ち位置を持っているのかということについても知見が深いのではないかと考えています。ですので、そういった企業と適切にコミュニケーション、情報共有を行うことで、国内のルール作りというのが進むのではないかと思っています。また、日本側としては、もちろんシンガポールという意見もあるんですけれども、日本もしくはアジア周辺地域への拡大、事業拡大をしていくための主要な拠点になり得ると考えていますので、地理的にもですね、あと国内にシンガポールなどと比較すると大規模なある程度ブランドを持っている食品企業も多いですので、そういったところとイスラエル企業が連携する事例が今後も増えてくれば良いなというふうに思っています。で、我々 JACA としては、そういった産学間のですね、連携をなるべく横断的にサポートをしていけるような立ち位置として今後も活動をしていきたいと思っております。短いんですけれども、以上で発表を終わらせたいと思います。ありがとうございました。
吉富さん、ありがとうございました。それでは次に、イスラエルイノベーションオーソリティ、シニアダイレクターオブビジネスディベロップメント、カリーナ・ルービンシュタインさんからお話がございます。カリーナさん、the floor is yours.
Hi, gozaimasu, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I'm really glad to be here. So just a few words about the challenges that we have. It was mentioned already here in the previous presentations. We are all facing the big challenges regarding the climate change and how we tackle it. Just a brief description about what the ecosystem is looking like in Israel and about the high-tech industry. The high-tech industry is the growth engine of the Israeli economy nowadays. 10% of the employees are in the high-tech industry, but it has a contribution of 13% of the GDP and 54% of the total Israeli export. Is a truly growth engine of the economy. And last year was remarkable, still ongoing the first quarter of this year, $27.4 billion funding raised in Israeli companies, 228 billion the market value of Israeli companies traded on Wall Street, and 72 unicorns, which I suppose is not so updated since I understand it's now standing at around 90. Just for the comparison, it is resembling the entire number of unicorns in Europe in a total. So
ヨーロッパでも非常に突出した数となっています。では次に、我々イノベーション庁の概略についてお話しします。まずミッションです。このイスラエルのイノベーションハブの競争力を高めていかなければなりません。まず、この手段としましては、革新的でリスクの高いその分野において直接投資を行うということ。そして、
up emerging technologies and enable activities which are opening the market, like removing barriers, catalyzing innovative regulation, etc. We have for many years, and still is part of our strategy nowadays, investing in all verticals without any exception, as long as the project is innovative and disruptive. However, we do see that the majority of the capital raised from the private market in Israel is in areas of fintech, retail, marketing, and cybersecurity and enterprise software. Less in areas of health tech and smart mobility, agro-food, energy, and such. This is really alarming, since these areas are really contributing to the climate change that we see and sustainability for the future. This is why we are looking at how we diversify the high-tech industry to maintain the leadership of the innovation in Israel. Just a brief description of the climate tech ecosystem in Israel at a glance. We are now counting beyond 600 startups and growing companies, more than 500 investment groups that invested in Israeli companies, and more than 20 academic and research institutes that have a direct contribution to a groundbreaking research in these areas. And from all of that, our support as government is really meaningful. Out of the 600 companies, around 350 has received the direct support from us and other government bodies. 4 research consortia were built with our funding. We are responsible to $280 million total support in general in these areas. We have built 7 incubators that are responsible for venture creation and for nourishing startups from day one, and are actually co-investing with us in these companies. And we are responsible for 7 active pilot programs in areas which are related to climate tech, and beyond the $60 million that these kinds of pilot projects were funded by us. So the majority, I can say, or the meaningful part of this ecosystem is supported by the government of Israel. We do see, however, avenues that we need to collaborate, and we would like very much to collaborate with Japan in actually building up this kind of an ecosystem, sustainable ecosystem, by combining global collaboration with local green revolution. This is something that we look at. How do these technologies, end of the day, are contributing directly to a sustainable ecosystem here and to meet the national emission targets of Israel. So if we are talking about the Israeli climate tech ecosystem, and within the
の
context
エ
of
コシステムを先ほどご紹介しましたが、フードテックについてご紹介します。非常に多くの画期的な企業が生まれてきています。この企業名がいろいろ書かれておりますけれども、さまざまなステージに数多くのスタートアップが現在取り組んでいる状況です。植物由来のものですとか発酵などのスタートアップです。またベンチャーキャピタルですとか業界の関係者、また
incubators and 350, even more than that, startups that are truly active in this area. It is a bubbling ecosystem nowadays, and I think you would be witnessing it by yourself in the presentations that you will see shortly. Out of that, the IIA direct support in maintaining and the growth of this vertical in the area of alternative proteins, where I can say that our direct investments were $80 million in the cultured meat consortia that we have recently financed. More than 47 startups that are supported by us, and $106 million total support that has been done really in the recent years. We are also facilitating scale up of these companies that we are funding by collaborating with other ministries of the government to open regulation in novel food and in the possibility to build new plants and have the facilities to scale to the global market. And this is something that is already in process and part of our mission. However, out of this, these kinds of fundings that we are responsible for and so on, the direct implications of alternative proteins to climate change solutions is under investments, and you can see it on a global scale. It has a direct implication for emissions around 14%, but the total amount of money invested in this sector is really very low in comparison to other sectors in areas of climate tech, and it needs to be changed. And this is why we are calling you to join us in creating a sustainable climate tech ecosystem. It's part of our strategy top down that we are leading these days, and the areas of food tech has a meaningful part of it. We will be investing more deeply in creating multidisciplinary research with dedicated grants and so on, building new incubators beyond the ones that you have already is responsible for creating such a working ecosystem. We have now 4 incubators, additional to other accelerators and so on. We are funding seed stages, and we will be funding more early stage and growth as well. And we will be setting up targeted challenges to accommodate to the needs in this growing sector. And we are very much open to international collaborations, both in R&D and piloting. We'll be happy to further discuss this possibility beyond this event. I'm calling you here to come and talk with us on this very important area and for the benefit of all of us. Thank you so much.
カリーナさん、ありがとうございました。
ございます。
それでは次に、グッドフードインスティテュート、アラ・ボールダマンさんより、イスラエルの代替タンパク質イノベーションエコシステムについてお話がございます。アラさん、floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I'd like to start by thanking the Israeli Embassy, the Economic Commission, JACA, the Israeli Innovation Authority for this opportunity. My name is Ala Voldman, and I'm the Director of Strategic Alliances at the Good Food Institute. For those of you who are not yet familiar with us, the Good Food Institute is a global non-profit think tank working to make the global
と
food
いうのは
system.
グローバルの非営利のシンクタンクです。科学者や
We are powered by philanthropy. We work across the globe to advance alternative proteins.
代替タンパク質の促進に努めております。世界の気候変動の目標、そして健康、食料安全保障のために私たちはこちら GFI でこの仕事に取り組んでおります。ヨーロッパ、インド、イスラエルにも拠点があります。そして今年日本でも新たにアフィリエイトが設立されました。人間というのは肉が大好きです。それが豊かさの象徴ともなっているところもあります。世界的に食肉生産量は過去最高となっています。2050年までにこの消費量は倍になると言われています。
Into a chicken to get 1 calorie of food back. And with beef, it's investing 25 calories to get 1 calorie of food back. In addition, meat production comes at heavy cost on the environment, the public health.
また、食肉生産は温室効果ガスを排出し、淡水利用もし、森林破壊もするため、大変な環境への負荷がかかってしまうのです。ですから、肉の生産をもっと良い形でやろうというのが代替タンパク質です。味も調理方法も見た目も匂いも肉のようなものを作ろうという試みです。
Information about the very advanced Israeli alternative protein ecosystem. We will also share with you here in the chat our latest State of the Israeli Innovation Report, where you can find more details about the Israeli alternative protein.
イスラエルの代替タンパク質のエコシステムについてこの GFI も関わっています。2021年というのは非常にこの画期的な年になりました。400% 以上もの投資となったわけです。合計6億ドル。この大半はこの培養肉の企業に行われています。この B ラウンドで成功を収めている企業が非常にたくさんあります。パイロットプラントを構えた企業もあります。イスラエルは世界でこのアメリカについて企業の多い、こういった関係企業の多い国になっています。また発酵に関しても2番目になります。
In establishing companies in seafood alternatives. Over 36% of all the global investment in cultivated meat companies is here in Israel. We are talking about an ecosystem of around 50 Israeli startups in the different technologies from cultivated meat, fermentation, and plant-based in different commercialization stages. And in the report, you can find detailed information on each of these companies. The Israeli government, in addition to the private sector, recognize the field and its benefits to the country, and is also working to support it. I'll just mention a few examples. First was when Prime Minister Bennett requested to get a review of the Israeli alternative protein sector as part of his briefing before meeting President Joe Biden. In his visit, he mentioned the Israeli leadership in this field as a technology that has the potential to mitigate world climate crisis. Later that year, as part of the Israeli delegation to COP26 in Glasgow, the Israeli president was the first in the world to taste cultivated chicken produced by the Israeli startup FutureMeat.
行われました。
こういった投資とともに、このようなイベントが行われていったわけですが、
By ministries, Israeli ministries, the webinar today
イスラエルの省庁がそれを促進してそれを進めております。カリーナさんもおっしゃっていましたが、もう一度私からもこのイスラエルのイノベーションの役割についてお話ししていきたいと思います。多くの投資をこのように行っています。民間企業にも行っております。また学術会にも行っています。このようにしてテクノロジーを業界へと広げていけるようにと学術会への投資も増やしております。
Progressive Israeli ecosystem and the great recognition in the field. GFI Israel
そのためこの分野ではイスラエルは基盤を築いております。イノベーティブな業界がイスラエルでは広く広がっております。スタートアップもあり、多くあり、また学術会での研究も進んでおります。先進的な研究が企業レベルでも学術会でも行われております。3つの障害があると私たちは考えています。研究レベル、インフラレベル、また規制レベルでです。それぞれの業界の専門家とともに私たちは詳細な計画を立ち上げました。この3つの障害に取り組むためです。財政的な投資もそのうちの一つです。この計画を実施していくために、どのような利点が国にもたらされるのかも入念に調べました。このような多国籍企業との連携が進んでいくことになりましたら、税収も増えることになります。国としても、そして地域レベルでも、さらに豊かになることになりますし、また食料安全保障という面でも非常に重要な貢献ができることになります。政府の省庁、また学術会で、この業界に興味のある方もいらっしゃると思いますので、どのような空白地帯があるのかお話ししていきたいと思います。4つの空白地帯、ホワイトスペースがあります。1つは肉で非常に重要な成分、脂肪です。現在の植物性脂肪というのは、多くがココナッツオイルを使っています。そのため、規模というレベルでは限界があります。脂肪の組成、食感、味、口どけといった面で、新しい脂肪が必要とされています。もう一つ、空白地帯となっているものがあります。それは生産方法です。新しい技術が出ますと、プラントベースの肉の食感を加工する方法というものが求められることになるからです。プラントベースのステーキの食感ですとか、そういったものが加工できる方法が必要とされています。タンパク質含有量の多い作物を開発するということも重要になってきます。タンパク質の機能、そういった面でも新規検出ですとか品質改良、そういったものも求められています。
countries in investing in evolving the field in their territories. And there are a few examples here of
いくつかこちらに例を
doing that. I'll just mention a few examples, such as the Canadian government, which has invested $100 million in factories for extracting and processing plant protein sources. Denmark is probably the country which invested the highest amount of money across all European countries in supporting research and agriculture directed from plant-based and fermentation technologies. And there are various other countries which are promoting national strategies to evolve the field. We see great potential in creating an alternative protein innovative ecosystem in Japan, leaning on its advanced tech industry and knowledge. The GFI today is working with governments worldwide to identify the areas for impactful government involvement, the areas where the private sector today doesn't address. We will be privileged to work with the Japanese government in constructing a national strategy for the Japanese ecosystem. We had the opportunity to present this suggestion a couple of weeks ago at the Japan Permanent Mission to the UN, and we hope to continue these discussions. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to reach out to us. We will be very happy to continue and working with you.
原さん、ありがとうございました。それでは次に、企業のピッチへと移らせていただきたいと思います。まず、培養鶏肉を製造するスーパーミート社です。CEO の井戸サビルさん、よろしくお願いします。
Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be here. I will share my screen. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Great. My name is Ido. I'm the CEO and co-founder of SuperMeat. My background is in tech, and I'm a software engineer. I spent 20 years of my professional career doing software. So I'm very well acquainted with the high-tech industry in Israel and around the world, and I can speak from my experience is that what we're seeing today with food tech is
フードテック業界に参入しているわけです。現在非常に本日ですけれども、この技術の紹介なども行いたいと思います。この業界というのは非常に大きな可能性を秘めていると思っています。業界そのものにとっても、また投資家
This relays a lot of potential for the world and economic growth. So SuperMeat is a cultivated meat company based in Israel. We are building our products based on a unique technology that we established, which allows us to use very standard fermentation processes. And that was something that was very important for us when moving into the space to narrow the gap in terms of establishing a scalable and commercially viable production system. What I would like to speak with you today here is about the commercialization and the path to commercial viability of cultivated meat and how we see that play out. So there are quite a few companies in the world today, and there are already a few who are at the point of pre-commercialization that are actively pursuing their commercial plant and the commercialization and industrialization aspect in order to roll out the first commercial products to the market. The expected timeline for that would be sometime in the next year or 2 years that the first products will be introduced to the market, probably first in the US. There has been, as we all know, a monumental introduction of products by eJust in Singapore, However, this is not yet a commercial, not yet relying on a commercial plant, and that is something that will happen in the next year or two, and that will probably be first in the US. Now, when looking at the reaching commercial viability and commercializing of cultivated meat, we see two main pillars that we would have to address as an industry. So the first and a very crucial one is regarding the manufacturing and the supply chain. So the manufacturing, and there's a lot to talk about the significance of setting up the plants and the fermentation processes, and that is one of the motivations, the reasons that it was important for us to rely on very standard fermentation processes. But that is something that's going to play a significant role in the go-to-market and commercialization. The second part is the supply chain. Similar to the traditional meat industry, 70 to 80% of the cost of the end product amounts to the feed for the cultivated meat. So we have to find very efficient and very sustainable ways to provide this feed. As part of our efforts and work towards the commercialization and industrialization of our processes, we are very privileged to work with Ajinomoto, which is a global leader in many disciplines and aspects that are very, very relevant to the commercialization of cultivated meat. So cultivated meat introduces a multidisciplinary effort to provide the meat. We are looking at both the biotechnology aspect of it, the engineering aspect, and obviously the food. And Ajinomoto is very well positioned, uniquely positioned with expertise, with global expertise and reach in all of these aspects and many more. And we believe that unique collaboration and partnership that this provides, where we can bring the technology and understanding and know-how of production of cultivated meat, and work together with Ajinomoto with their incredible knowledge and understanding in many of these sectors, would allow us to provide a very strong platform and something that will allow to commercialize and create an efficient and commercially viable production process for meat. Being conscious of time, the other pillar which is very important to look at is the product. So at the end of the day, and GFI stresses that a lot, you need to address the accessibility, the price, and the taste. So that was one of the first thing that was very important for us to look at. And so as part of our development process initially, it was important for us to conduct multiple analytics and tests, industry standard tests, to understand and assess the quality of the meat that we produce. What you're seeing in the image before you is 100% cultivated meat. I didn't mention that, but our production process does not utilize any kind of carriers or scaffoldings. It grows the meat in full suspension, very standard kind of fermentation process. But what the output is something which is just meat, just 100% meat and animal protein without anything else, and that's what you're seeing. As I mentioned, we conducted different kinds of analytics, from volatile compounds analysis, different sensorial panels, nutritional profile analysis, all that demonstrate that the meat that we produce is comparable, equivalent to traditional meat. In this case, we are starting with poultry, and what you could see here is a comparison of our chicken with conventional chicken. This is also the fatty acid profile, which you could also see similarly that very high comparability with traditional meat. And as mentioned earlier, that the fat profile is something that is very significant and is a part of the contribution to the flavor profile. And so it is important to have something that is very similar. I would finish up because of the time, just showing some of the applications that we developed. We believe it's important to have a wide portfolio of applications that we'll be able to provide to the consumer in our first rollout. And as we're looking to start with food service, as probably the entire cultivated meat industry, it is important that we provide the chefs and the restaurants the wide offering to provide their customers. Thank you. I'll be happy to follow up later on in the panel.
井戸さん、ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Thank you. それでは次に、C2 セル社の CEO、オルナ・ハレルさん、よろしくお願いします。オルナさん、floor is yours.
Okay. So thank you for this opportunity to present C2Cell. We are one of the youngest companies in the field, and we are focusing on seafood. We were established in November 2021, and this is a great opportunity for us to present ourselves. My name is Orna, and I'm the CEO of the company. And we are really looking at ourselves as a biotech food company, because we are going on a continuum from the biotech industry into the future, which is the food tech. And we're really using some of the methods and technologies that are used in traditional biotech industry. So I'm trying to. Okay, so humans have been fishing since ancient times, and fish are a really important part of human diet. And in some places, especially in South Asia, it's a major part of human consumption. But the problem is that if current trends will continue, by 2050, the population of just about all seafood is going to collapse. And this is based on growing demand and on dwindling supply. And this has led people to go to cultured meat or cultured fish as a solution. So C2Cell is one of the companies that embraces this challenge of lowering supply and increasing demand to provide the world with sustainable source of high quality blue protein that is not just nutritious, but also healthy and cruelty-free, and that preserve the biodiversity of fresh waters and reduce the ecological footprint and so on. We also are aligned with all United States Sustainable Development Goals, as can be seen here. And our mission really is to produce genuine fish cuts that will be as good as fish in taste, in the way they perform in our kitchens, in the way they perform in our foods. So we want the fish that we will be producing to be as tasty, to have the same nutritional value and the same taste, of course, and the same feel in our mouths. And all at the same and accessible price. And this can be this is a real disruptive potential of cell cultured fish that can be made available year-round, will be manufactured locally, not just in places close to the sea. And another thing is that we will be able to rapidly change between species, meeting market demands. As my colleagues mentioned before, there are expectations that the portion of the market portion of cultured meat will increase by 2040, and it will occupy roughly 35 to 40% of all meat consumed by humans all around the globe. And seafood is not different from this, of course. So we are, C2Cell is a company that is so heavily supported by the Israeli Innovation Authority. You've heard Karina Rubinstein before. So we are supported by the government, and we're also supported by
またその他にも食品の有名企業
to receive our crowd and Finister Ventures. Our group of founders is really multidisciplinary, which is crucial when you're coming to take such an important and difficult mission. So each of the parties in the founding team has his own special expertise, and we are really covering everything from innovation management to fish biology to cultivation processes, and lastly, market expertise. So I think Ella mentioned that seafood is largely a white space because there is little tools that are available when coming to produce meat from fish. And here are some of the challenges that we face in this space. So first of all, we face the challenge of availability of cell lines, which are the very basic of such an endeavor. And then we have the culture conditions and that are very, very different from either chicken or bovine. And we have to adapt and find and develop new protocols for this in order to be able to produce genuine fish cuts, as I mentioned before. So what we're really doing at C2Cell is starting with this very basic cell lines and culture conditions and so on. So we are sourcing and collecting a variety of fish tissues, and then we produce our own cell lines. We also buy or get cell lines, whatever is available. There are very few cell lines available out there. And we are developing animal-friendly technologies that will reduce production costs. So this is just in a nutshell what we are doing. And we establish proprietary fish cell lines, as I mentioned, and we develop technologies that will allow proliferation, differentiation, and also maturation in a cost-effective way. And our asset is really the fish cell lines that we develop and the collection, the database that we collect, because this allows us flexibility in R&D as well as cross-species and cross-tissue insights that will facilitate later on building this database will facilitate future AI applications to which we are aiming. Just to show you just an example of things that we are doing in the lab. So here what you're seeing is our cell lines that we have been producing in the lab. And you can see that these are very beautiful myotubes or beginning of muscle fibers, which is what we want when we produce meat. And here you can see an example, a staining of these beautiful muscle cell lines with an antibody that is specific to muscles. And so this is just, the beginning of what we are doing. And we will take it further on to provide the world with a great tasting, healthy and animal-free real food seafood alternatives. And by that, I think I'll yield my time. So thank you for this time.
オルナさん、ありがとうございました。Thank you very much.
Thank you.
それでは次に、FutureMeat 社よりディレクターオブビジネスディベロップメントのヤロン・サドヤさん、お願いいたします。ヤロンさん、the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sagubo-san. I'm going to close my video as I'm experiencing some delays and bandwidth. So I'll save you from seeing my face. So thank you again for hosting this. And we were speaking a lot about why we're doing this, right? Whether it's a sustainability issue or humane issue. Let's look at a very practical issue, and that is what Malaysia just announced 2 days ago, that it's going to limit its export of poultry. And Singapore, where 40% of its poultry is coming from Malaysia, is now calling on its citizens to try alternative meats or different kinds of meats in order to get their meat consumption. Now, why is Malaysia curbing, as it says, its export? Well, because it can't feed all its people together with the people they're exporting poultry to. So this is a very practical issue that we need to address, in addition to all the sustainability and humane issues that were raised earlier. So this is why FutureMeat is in this field of cultured meat. And if we now look at what would it take for cultured meat companies such as FutureMeat and others to get to the consumers, then there are two ways of looking at it. The one is from the consumer side, where consumers are looking for a tasty product, a product that is affordable and healthy for themselves, but also for the planet. And then the industry, companies such as ourselves, and someone mentioned that before me as well, we are looking for technologies which are scalable, cost-effective, and appealing, if it's a taste, neutral value, or visual. And above all that, we have the regulation that we need to pass. And that is, as was spoken again, an unknown period of time. How much will it take? Would the US be first? Other places? Singapore, we see only one company selling there. Why only one? What is the backlog? There are many questions there that regulation will have the answer. So until we have regulatory approval, what are we doing? So a few months ago, FutureMeat announced its B round, and we are proud to have predominant players in this field, such as ADM and Tyson Foods and others. And we are really gearing towards commercializations. We are putting all our efforts now to have a product which we can sell, which is affordable, to have the manufacturing capabilities, and to have the regulatory approval, obviously. So our first product would be a chicken product. And following that, we'll have the lamb kebab. All the pictures, by the way, that you see here are from our facility. So the first product would be chicken, followed by lamb kebab, and then would come the beef burger and steak and chops, and that in the product side. On a cost effectiveness side, right, we are trying to provide the full meat experience, not only in taste, visual, texture, smell, but also cost. And in order to achieve that, we need to work very hard on the technical side. So on the biology side, for example, we have non-GMO immortalized cells, which meaning we don't need to go back to the cow to take a cell, which obviously saves on cost. We also developed an in-house media. The media is the food for the cells that is allowing us to significantly lower the cost of production and optimize our cell lines. In the engineering part, we developed some kind of a liver, a rejuvenation system that is capable of taking the medium, the food for the cells, clean it from waste, from lactate and ammonia, and return a large percentage of it back to the cells. Again, saving costs, time, and having a great yield of cells at the end of the day. Last but not least is transparency. We are constantly publishing the cost of goods or cost of production for our product. And the last one was a few months ago, $1.70 for a serving plate of chicken. Now, yes, this excludes a number of elements, packaging and so on, but this is already viable. And so we are bringing the future of meat, not in 10 years' time or 5 years' time. We are bringing it very, very soon. Now, in order to do this, we need obviously to go into territories. And as was announced, the US is going to be our first and primary market. However, we are also currently actively exploring additional territories around the world, having discussions with distributors, food services, retail chains, and CPGs. We know we will not be able to do this alone, and we need to build an ecosystem together with you. We already announced a partnership with CP Foods a few weeks or months ago. Last year, we also announced a partnership with Nestle, obviously the largest food company in the world. And we're having additional agreements with companies for ingredient suppliers that together we will supply ingredients to the industry, and distribution of our products in certain territories, such as I've shown earlier. And obviously, and you all know this, Asia is an important market for us, not only because Singapore approved cultured meat, but also because poultry is on the rise, demand is on the rise, and awareness for cultured meat is very much high in Asia, including in Japan. So I'm calling you, whether you are a tech company, a product company, a distributor, food service, retail, or CPG company. And we are already having discussions with such companies in Japan. We are looking to partner with you in order to bring this revolution to the market, not in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, but tomorrow. Thank you very much.
ヤロンさん、ありがとうございます。Thank you very much. それでは最後に、インテグリカルチャー社より CEO、羽生祐樹さん、よろしくお願いします。
どうもありがとうございます。はい、Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. So we are a cellular agriculture company in Tokyo. Probably the background of our business, the problem space, I don't think we need any more repetition here. But we work on cell cultured meat, but more precisely speaking, the infrastructure to make cell cultured meat. Obviously, as described earlier, the problem with cell cultured meat has been that it has been very expensive. So how to make this cheaper has been an issue. But at the same time, more recent times, even if the price point problem becomes solved.
の問題が解決したとしても、その他にも問題があります。業界の透明性ですとか、一般市民に受け入れられるかどうかといった問題があります。また、成長因子が非常に高額であるということは、また、バイオリアクターに関しても大きなものが必要となります。そして、これも高額になります。ですから、また、それだけではなく、業界の透明性、また、市民が受け入れるかどうかといった問題が培養肉には存在しています。私たちの会社にはユニークなテクノロジー
which produces growth factors in-house without depending on external sources. And at the same time, we are scaling this system and also increasing the cell density to do this at scale. So more on the technical side, how this CulNet system works is that it consists of two parts. One is target cell bioreactor and the feeder bioreactors. And to make cell cultured products, you need to culture cells. And to culture cells, you need basic nutrients like sugar, amino acids, so-called basal medium, and as well as the serum components, including growth factors. And those growth factors have been a key issue in the whole industry. And in case of the CulNet system, what's being done here is that those feeder bioreactors produce growth factors, just as it happened in natural animal bodies. So let's take human body as an example. We see cells growing inside our body every day, but you don't go to pharmacy to purchase growth factors and inject into yourself. The reason why you don't have to do that is because your body organs produce the growth factors required for your body cell growth. So what's happening here is basically a biomimicry of natural systems. So how effective are the growth factors and the cell culture serum produced by the CulNet system? This shows the results. So it's actually more effective than traditional method of using fetal bovine serum. But that was laboratory scale. We have to go for industrial and commercial scaling. So we have built this 100 liters liter system in collaboration with other companies, other manufacturing and engineering companies. So it's quite often that it's often heard that what works at the laboratory scale does not always work at the industrial scale, but we broke that barrier. So we have already demonstrated that the CulNet system is capable of producing cell cultured serum at a scale. So what's happening here is that we are culturing cells using basal medium only. So no growth factors, no plant extracts, no genetically modified insect extract or something like that. It's just basal medium only. With this technology, we have a couple of demonstration products. One is cell cultured foie gras, launching this year in Japan. Because in Japan, depending on the nature of the cell cultured product, there's no regulatory barrier. So we are going with such product. And we also have cell cultured serum cosmetics called the CulNet. This is already on the market. Multiple products are already in distribution. But these are demonstration products. Our ultimately, what we are doing is basically distributing this technology to all users. But at least on the early phases, it's probably most likely food companies. So what's going to happen is that the CulNet system hardware would be installed at the client site and operated, and the cell cultured meat and other products will be produced by the clients. To make that happen, we have a preceding R&D program called Comet Pipeline. So step 1 and 2 mostly happens in our laboratory. So the client could be anywhere in the world. And step 3 and 4, we already have some distribution partners. Through this Comet Pipeline, we go from feasibility all the way to scaling. So this basically gives the capability to produce cell cultured products even to those institutions without a history of cell culture. So as we talk about our scheme to different players, we have been getting some good feedbacks from 2 different client segments. One is food company, the other is cellular agriculture startup. So traditional food companies want to make their businesses sustainable. And also at the same time, for cellular agriculture startups, they are in need for growth factors, and preferably a more transparent form of growth factors. And also they also want some differentiability or the a competitive edge at the end compared to other products. Then the CulNet system could be tweaked to because the CulNet system could be tweaked to at the user's end so that the users can develop their own IP on the CulNet system. So this is almost like developing an app on smartphones. So with this model, what we are aiming to achieve is the cell culture or cellular agriculture becoming a more social infrastructure used by food companies, farmers, or could be for chefs, or even for car industry to make leather, cell culture leather for car seats. This way, we are building an infrastructure that allows for rapid rollout of cellular agriculture to solve the impeding food problems and sustainability issues. So if there are any companies who want to take part in the cellular agriculture industry, could be on the consumer end, could be on the supplier end. We have collaborative schemes for both CulNet Pipeline or CulNet Consortium on the upper stream. So if you're interested, please give us a call. Yeah, thank you very much.
羽生さん、ありがとうございました。企業のピッチは以上です。 イスラエルには他にも多くのフードテック企業がございます。申し込みページに全47社のイスラエルフードテック企業のカタログがございますので、こちらの方の企業から気になるようなところがございましたら、ぜひ弊部の方にお問い合わせいただけましたらと思います。それでは、これまで登壇した皆様によるパネルディスカッションの方に移らせていただきたいと思います。質問のある方は Q&A の方に英語で書き込んでください。また、こちらのモデレーターは弊部イスラエル大使館経済部経済講師ダニエル・コルバーが務めさせていただきます。皆様、よろしくお願いします。
Thank you. Thank you, Suguru-san. 皆さん、こんにちは, and good morning in Israel. I'm happy to moderate this panel. It will be quicker than what we had in mind, but that's okay. I'd like to invite all of the panelists to join me. I believe they're all getting spotlighted here on the screen so the viewers can see all of us. And great. So in the outset, I would like to thank all of you. I know that your schedules are very busy. That goes for both the viewers. By the way, we have about 250 people registered to this event, and most of them are watching, so we're very excited about that. But also the speakers. Israeli startups are super busy, as we know and have seen from this from the presentations. And still they're here with us. So in the beginning, I would like to say that we invite all the viewers as well to send their questions, try to make it interactive, and there's some questions already there for the Israeli companies, and as well as the Japanese participants as well, right? We have from JACA, IntegriCulture, and the Israel Innovation Authority. So first, I would like to ask a question to basically all of you, if you can just give a quick answer. It was touched upon in Yohan's presentation and other presentations as well. There are many merits for cellular agriculture and in general alternative proteins. Which one do you think is particularly important? Is it the environmental impact, animal welfare, health benefits, and so forth? So just give us your quick answer on that, please. Starting with the order of the speakers, let's say. So is Karina here with us? Going to Ala.
Thank you, Daniel. Happy to answer this. I think if I have to choose the most prominent motivation to invest in the field, especially these days, I think we are all sensing the impact and the fragility of the shortages that are coming due to geopolitical challenges and changes that are happening, climate that impacts crops around the world, like oat and wheat. It really strengthened the need for countries to invest in strengthening their national food security, and definitely cultivated meat technology is one way of doing that and reducing the dependency on import of food to be able to supply for the demand of the population.
Thank you very much. Next to you, Yuri Dosa. Yes.
Sure. So I think the main unique thing about the proposition of cultivated meat is that it's a win-win on every aspect, both on sustainability as well as product quality, and obviously in terms of supply chain. I think especially when looking at poultry, which is expected to be the first to be commercialized, it has some of the worst or the highest issues in terms of disruptions and issues in terms of shelf life. And also it's considered the most contaminated animal, land animal. consumed. And so all these together create a very compelling case for the meat industry, for the food industry, for a novel production process that would resolve all these issues and provide a more sustainable, secure production system. So I think it's a no-brainer, and it's the responsibility of the industry to provide the commercial viability that price would not be an issue.
Thank you very much. Ona-san? Just unmute, yes.
Yeah, I'm yeah. So I agree with the previous speakers. I think there isn't just one answer. In terms of fish, what I was trying to convey earlier is that the risk for disappearing of fish is imminent. Unlike bovine or cows or chickens, we're not talking about the disappearance of those, but we are most certainly talking about disappearance on fish food and on seafood. And there, I think the risk is more imminent.
Thank you very much. Yaron?
It can be easy for me. I can say all of the above.
Yeah, you talked about it already. Yes, I think especially in today's environment, when it's getting harder and harder to be dependent upon imports of food from other countries.
Right. And I'll just say it's the future. We don't have any other chance. We need to find an alternative. CultureMeat is one of them. I don't think we have a chance. I don't think we have an alternative at this point.
Thank you. Yuki-san?
Yeah, well, all of the above is one answer, but I think it's kind of a solving a problem is one. But for the IntegriCulture company, what we are trying to do is make this like this technology publicly available, so that everyone can try out new stuff. So the company is actually proposing some culinary diversity and like curiosity-driven novel culinary cultures. So basically opening new frontiers for food and culinary culture. So solving problem is one that we needed, but ultimately that's what we are going for, like more tastier culinary culture.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions to the Israelis. Another one has to answer, but those who wishes. But Ala, I'm sure you'll be able to start. Because your report that I recommend for everyone to read, by the way, highlights Israel's unproportional achievements in the alternative proteins. Right, we're a small country, but so much innovation, so many investments. What do you think this is?
So I'm sure the startups here will be able to elaborate more. I think first and foremost, Israel is a startup nation. It has been a startup nation for many years, and it's not unique only to alternative protein technologies and cultivated meat. But I think specifically there are additional parameters and an underlying support that exists in Israel that allows. あるかと思いますけれども、このイスラエルでどうしてスタートアップ企業が成長しているのかということが、いろいろなパラメータがあるかと思います。スタートアップに関してはバイオケミストリーですとか、このプラントサイエンスですとか、植物由来のものに関係がある分野の企業もあります。イスラエルではフードテックのインキュベーターもあります。また、世界でも主要なインキュベーターがイスラエルに2つあります。まだ設立されたばかりではあるんですけれども、さらにこの文化的な要素も大きいかと思います。この技術。In going to cultivated meat startups, in going to technologies which are probably a bit farther to the market than others.
Good, thank you very much. From the entrepreneur side, would anyone like to add?
I agree.
Good, very good. So there are questions here. Anyone else?
I just want to say it's thought brains, Pro Israeli chutzpah.
chutzpah, yes, that's right. I wish we had more time to explain, but I think a lot of our viewers do know about it. But if not, please ask us after. Good, so I think we have quite a few questions. Some of them you've already answered. This one in particular that I would talk about, and thank you, Satoru Kasai-san, for your question. So you're asking about the positions of the WHA and FAO about this novel food, and I would maybe expand to ask, what are the barriers? Why are we not, all of us, already eating your products? Let's say, of course, there are the technological aspects. Not everyone is there yet, but in terms of regulation or culture, what is stopping you to get to the market?
Should I start again?
Ladies first.
Okay. So I'll start by saying that there is a very, very progressive engagement between GFI, FAO, Codex, World Health Organization. We started over a year ago, first by introducing the field and increasing the knowledge about the technologies and their safety assessments to these organizations. Of course, with Codex, GFI is an official member, and there's work being done in making sure that there's a clear path to market, regulatory path to market for these technologies. So all of these organizations are highly aware of the benefits that rely in these technologies. I think there's still, it's not there yet because it is considered as novel food, and maybe cultivated meat technology is slightly different than others, but it is the same process worldwide with ingredients or technologies in the food system that has no historical use. There is a need to pass through this process, and though it's tedious and long, we do believe to be able to see in the very, very near future more and more companies getting the green go to start and launch their products worldwide.
Thank you, Ala. And Megumi-san, if you're with us, I know you have a video issue, but if you can hear us and would like to comment on that, I think it's directly also related to your work with the JACA promoting this in Japan.
Hi, I'm sorry, I was very distracted by the device problem. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Right. So the question of what are the hurdles, not the technological hurdles, but what is stopping us consumers from enjoying the cellular-based product right now?
You mean the hurdle to sell the?
Right. Is it more a question of regulation, or you think it will be a question of a price, or maybe culture? I mean, like mentality. It's for people to get used to it. What are the challenges, and what can we do about it?
Mm-hmm. So regulatory challenges is the most hardest point for us. So we are currently frequently communicating with relevant rulemakers, such as like politicians or other rulemaking parties, and basically, as we are at JACA, we are not only focused on promoting cultivated meat or fish industry, but also we would like to implement the industry in order to support the growth of Japanese economics. And we see that we see great in Japan regarding the technology and also food area. So we would like to leverage the strengths into this industry. So I think what is important is not only to appeal or give presentation about good point of technological strength, etc., or maybe contribution to the environment. Not only that, but also we need some element that if Japan as a country promote this industry, we should make a story that if we promote this industry, we will get some profit from the industry, and that's what we are now doing by creating industrial guidelines, such as creating rule about, for example, cell, or maybe
細胞に関するルールを作ったり、また IP 面のルールを作ったり、細胞に関する IP ですね。
create profit from cell-based food industry.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Certainly, the advance of technology goes hand in hand with other aspects such as regulation. We are seeing this in other industries as well, like when we talk about autonomous driving, another area where really there is a lot of synergy between Israel and Japan, right? But I would love to continue this panel much longer. There's so many things to talk about, but I believe our time has just run up. But I do invite all of the viewers who are with us to send us your questions and meet the Israeli companies that presented and the others in Israel. We are here, the Economic and Trade Mission of Israel at the embassy, here exactly to connect Israel and Japan, create business opportunities for you, and we will be happy to continue doing so. So we invite you all to join our future events as well, virtual and in-person events, and of course visit Israel now that the skies are open and it's easier. And those who are speaking to us from Israel, we invite you to come to Japan. If you had your third vaccination, you will be exempt from quarantine. So please come and visit us here. It's a great place, so you have to come. So I think with that, I would like to again thank all of the partners that have contributed to the event, and we hope this will be a step forward to collaborations between Israel and Japan. Megumi-san, now we can see you. Nice. Thanks for coming back, and thanks for your thanks for you and please convey to Akira-san all the help in the organization of the event, and we're wishing you all a good luck. Suri-san, I'll bring the microphone back to you to wrap it up.
Okay, thank you very much. 皆様ありがとうございました。本日のイベントのプログラムは以上になります。たくさんの質問をいただきました。答えられない質問に関しては後ほど回答させていただきます。今後も様々なテーマにてオンラインイベントをイスラエル大使館経済部は企画しておりますので、ぜひ弊部ウェブサイトの方をご覧いただければと思います。これにて当ウェビナーを終了させていただきます。本日はご清聴いただき誠にありがとうございました。